The title of this video, the 8 best reasons to shoot film over digital that no one told you about, I guess is a little misleading because I'm sure some of these 8 reasons you've known about, someone's told you about. So let's go over them. First is initial cost to get into film is much less than getting into digital. I did a video last year titled How to Get Into Film Photography for Under $100. And I'll put a link in the description below to that video. You can get into film for way under $100. I've purchased film cameras for as little as $15. Okay, the meter wasn't working, but still, you could pick up lenses for $20, $25 or so. So you can. And there are many, hundreds, thousands of film cameras available. When you think that film has been around for well over 100 years, there have been just so many cameras produced in that time. So many different types of cameras, 35 millimeter, medium format, large format. So there are plenty of cameras available. With the increase in popularity of film in recent years, the price of used film cameras has gone up, but you can still get them, as I said, for well under $100. Okay, so that was number one. Number two, film forces you to slow down. With 35 millimeter, you're limited to 36 exposures per roll. So after taking 36 pictures, you have to reload. Of course, with digital, you could go on almost for, it seems, forever, as memory cards will hold thousands of images. So that makes you stop and think a little more before you take a picture. You think more about your composition, think more about your exposure, and I think it makes you a better photographer for that reason, that you're not just holding that shutter release down and firing a burst. So if you're shooting medium format, you're also very limited, even more so than with 35 millimeter. For example, if you're shooting a 6x6 camera, a 2 1/4 square format camera, with a 120 roll, you're getting 12 exposures per roll. And also, the other thing that forces you to slow down is the cost of the film. Film has gotten to be expensive, and so again, you don't want to waste any frames. Number three is great exposure latitude. Color negative and black and white film especially has great latitude towards overexposure. The highlights are not blown out as easily as they would be with digital. With film, you can overexpose by several stops and still produce a decent print. With digital, if you overexpose by more than a stop or so, you might as well just toss that file. Now, years ago, I worked in a photo lab, and we had a customer come in with, I think it was 19 rolls of film from his vacation, all 36 exposure, color negative film, and it was way overexposed. Now, I'm not sure if he had his ISO set too low or his lens wasn't stopping down, whatever, but we were able to produce acceptable prints from those negatives, although it took quite a long time. Number four, many film cameras don't require a battery. If you go with a fully mechanical camera, the only thing you're going to need a battery for, if the camera has a meter, is for the meter. Otherwise, the camera will be fully functional. A digital camera without the battery is a paperweight. It's useless. Now, there are many film cameras in later years, electronic cameras, autofocus film cameras that do require a battery. But like I said, you could pick up a mechanical camera and never have to worry about a battery. The camera will operate perfectly, except of course if it has a built-in meter. Number 5 is longevity. Properly processed and stored film can last for decades. I have some film that I shot when I first got involved in photography back in 1971, so that's over 50 years ago, that is still fine. It's just important that it is stored properly in acid-free conditions. An acid-free box with print file pages, for example, are great to store your negatives. Digital, on the other hand, will only last as long as the media it's stored on can be read by a computer. Number 6 is no computer needed. You shoot your film, you process it yourself, or you have someone process it for you, take it to a lab, and you can view those negatives or slides just holding them up to the light. Now, of course, you can have them scanned and then view them on your computer and manipulate them on your computer, but it's not a necessity. Number 7 is generally film cameras are much simpler. They're much easier to learn how to use. For example, here's an instruction manual for the Minolta SRT 101. It's 41 pages. Now, moving forward, we have the instruction manual for the Nikon N90S, which was a film camera, but it had a built-in motor drive and was autofocus. It's 147 pages. Okay, so 100 pages, approximately 100 pages more than the SRT 101. And here we go with the Nikon D810, a digital camera, a digital DSLR. It's 502 pages. So the newer cameras, the digital cameras, are far more sophisticated with far more controls, more buttons and menus to learn. And of course, the older manual focus cameras are far simpler to learn and to use. And finally, number 8, you can put the best film in the least expensive camera. With digital, if you have a camera from, let's say, 15 years ago, its sensor is not going to be as good as the sensor in a present-day camera. Yeah, you'll still get decent images, but they're going to be noisier at higher ISOs. The resolution isn't going to be as good. But with film, you know, if you have a 60-year-old camera, I have a Pentax H1A that dates from around 1964. So it's what, 59 years old with a 55mm f2 Takumar lens. If I compared that to images shot with a much newer camera, let's say my Nikon F2 with a 50mm Nikkor lens, and I look at those prints from those negatives, I'm not going to see a difference. Yeah, the Nikon may be more durable. It takes a motor drive, you know, it's got more features, but as far as image quality, I don't think you would see a difference. So that's a big advantage to film. You could buy the least expensive camera and use the latest films and still get great results. Yeah, maybe not the convenience, like I said. Yeah, it's not autofocus, but the image quality will be excellent. Okay, so that's it. Now, while I still prefer digital for most of my work, I think I have shown in this video that there are still some really good reasons to shoot film. Now, in my next video, I'm going to go over 13 reasons why I think digital is better than film. So I'd like to hear your comments. I'd like to hear what you think. Please email me your questions or leave them in the comments below. I usually come out with a new video every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you next time.